To a civics group yesterday in Cleveland, President Obama suggested one way to improve democracy is by forcing everyone to vote.
In Australia and some other countries, there's mandatory voting. It would be transformative if everybody voted.
Would it be transformative? Would that be audacious? The audacious hope and change we've been promised? The White House has since clarified that President Obama wasn't making a serious policy suggestion for American democracy. He was just casually thinking about how neat it would be if the government forced everyone to vote. Peter Schiff joins me tonight. He's the CEO and Chief Global Strategist of Euro-Pacific Capital Incorporated. That's a very handsome title you have there.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so let's talk about the mandatory voting. It sounds like a great idea, right?
Well, I think it's a horrible idea. And I would have thought up until Obamacare that it would have been unconstitutional. But now I guess anything goes. I suppose they can pass a tax for not voting. And if you don't have proof of voting, I guess the IRS can get you. Although I don't know if you don't pay taxes, maybe they can, garnish your welfare check or your food stamps or something if you don't have proof that you voted. But look, the last thing we want to do is force people who couldn't care less about the outcome of an election to actually vote. I mean, because they're not going to make an informed vote. I mean, they might just go eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I mean, why do we need people who aren't informed? But anyway, I just assume those people stay home and not vote.
Well, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, are we really putting our hands and our freedom, our freedom and our choices in the hands of people who couldn't give a crap, and the only reason they're going to the polls is because they're going to be penalized? And also, it's sort of bad policy if you're fighting for lower income Americans and you want them to be a part of the process, yet you're penalizing them financially for not voting. Doesn't that just make the situation worse?
Well, I mean, the idea is not to have everybody voting. The idea is to have good government. And if we have better government with fewer voters, then everybody wins. If you look at our best legislators, go back and look at the founding fathers and the First Continental Congress. I mean, very few Americans voted for them. And we had a much higher caliber. I mean, people used to actually pay to vote. You had property qualifications, poll taxes. So we had very few people voting, yet we had much better legislators and much better government, which benefited everybody, even the people who don't vote. But now, I mean, everybody is voting, but we have lousy government. We have all these taxes, all these regulations, and everybody is suffering.
And now there are people who say if you don't vote, you can't complain about how bad things are. Do you agree with that statement?
Well, not really. I mean, it depends on where you live. I mean, maybe if you live in a swing state where the elections are close, maybe. But, I mean, you live in a state like California. I mean, even if you're a Republican, there's nothing you could do. I mean, there's so many Democrats that are going to cancel out your vote. I think it's funny when you have a husband and wife, and one is Republican and one is Democrat, and they drive to the polls together to cancel each other's votes out. I mean, why not just stay home? I mean, it doesn't really accomplish anything.
No, my husband and I always try and vote as a block. We do, even when we write in candidates' names. And we've written Peter Schiff down more than once on the ballot.
All right, that was you, huh?
Yeah, that was me. Where's my money, Schiff? All right, well, yesterday, Janet Yellen, the chairperson of the Federal Reserve, indicated a willingness to raise interest rates for the first time since the onset of the recession. So should the Fed raise rates? Should they keep them the same? Or is the Fed better off dead? Now, I know you've written about this recently, and you have said, go ahead and raise the rates. Let's burst the bubble and take the recession we're due, because if we keep putting off the inevitable, it's going to be much worse.
Yeah, of course, the Fed has been artificially suppressing interest rates. She should let the market set interest rates, and of course rates will be a lot higher, but then the bubble economy that she inflated would burst. And that's what she doesn't want to happen. I mean, she didn't say she was going to raise rates. She just said it was possible that she might raise rates, but anything is possible. An alien apocalypse is possible. But it doesn't mean it's going to happen. It's not very probable. Yellen just wants to pretend that she's going to raise rates. The truth is that she's afraid to raise rates because the economy will collapse, because it's not a real recovery. It's just a big bubble, and she doesn't want to pop it.
All right, do we need a recession to actually recover?
Unfortunately, we do.
Okay.
Because what happens is
How do you sell that, though, to people who are still hurting financially?
Well, they're going to hurt more if we delay the day of reckoning. But the problem is when you keep interest rates artificially low, and now they've been at zero for 6 years, right? You create problems, mistakes are made, misallocations of resources. People do stupid, foolish things when rates are too low. It's not until rates go back up that you realize all the mistakes that were made, and now the market has to correct them. And correcting the mistakes that the Fed forces us to make is painful. It's a recession. It's part of the healing process that we badly need. But by postponing it, you make all the problems worse, and the ultimate resolution is that much more painful.
You heard it here first. Bad choices as a result of 0% interest rates, and that means more one-night stands and impulse buying.
Well, a lot on Wall Street in particular, but a lot of people are buying stuff with money they don't have. A lot of people, look, you borrow a lot more money when it's free, right? And you're not going to save any money if your savings account is zero. So, a lot of malinvestments, that's the economic word. What happens when rates are too low? And look, when rates were too low last time around, the Greenspan kept interest rates at 1% for a year and a half.
Greenspan!
We got the housing bubble, right? And the financial crisis. Imagine this is much worse. We've kept interest rates a lot lower for a lot longer.
Too low for too long.
So the next
Peter
crisis
Schiff says, bring on the recession. It'll be better for you in the long run. Peter Schiff, thank you so much.
Anytime.
All right. How about next week?